All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Difference, a podcast where we highlight leaders and associates that are making a difference in their communities and in their teams. Today, you're stuck with me. Alexis is off today, but we have a great guest, which is AJ Craddock. She's a store manager in a neighborhood market in 5820 in Florida, and she's doing a great job. She's new to role. She's been in the store for 4 or 5 months, but she has a good Walmart story, has done a lot of different things, and brings a sense of urgency and energy to her job each and every day. So I think you'll get a kick out of hearing her and how she approaches being a new store manager. So we're going to bring her on and have a quick conversation. How's the store doing? Do you have any good stories with your folks that you're proud of? Any team leads?
I'm proud of all of my people. I call them my little ducklings, and they're great. I was actually able to go watch another store for 2 weeks while their store manager was out, and my store they rocked it. We launched VizPick in our region, and they took off. They were number one in the market. They're still number one in the market, and they take great pride in their area and what they do. They're the ones that make the store what the store is. We do a lot of fun activities. We do Fun Friday here. We celebrate each little milestone that they have, because only being here for 4.5 months is a big deal, because coming in as a brand new store manager, not really knowing what to do, kind of coming from big team blue to this, the smallest neighborhood market in my market. And I'm like, hi, I'm AJ. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, all right, we're going to do this together. And it was just really getting to know them and allowing them to get to know me. And through that, we've built a great partnership to where I'm out there down an aisle doing top stock for them. And they're like, ma'am, what are you doing? Like, go somewhere else. We don't need you over here. We got you. We got this. And they're just genuinely great people in this little small town of Middleburg that, I've lived near for 2 to 3 years. And I never even realized that there was a neighborhood market on this corner. So it's fun to come in here and see, and then, just talk to them and hear what they do outside of work and kind of bring that into work. We have a chalkboard up front that one of our young ladies is a really good artist, and we let her, with the help of the other associates, go up there and draw for the holidays.
That's great. So it sounds like, you worked really hard on establishing trust, at the very beginning.
Absolutely.
What are some ways that you did that? And how do you establish, especially in a store environment, leadership is very raw in a store environment, because you're right there.
Yeah.
Right. There's a mission, there's things going on. It's all right in front of you, and which makes the job so much fun. But how do you establish that trust, especially at the very beginning?
Coming in and being yourself, not, you don't, as a store manager, I think there's a stigma of having to be this hard, rough around the edges person. And I just came in and, was myself, was silly, was, one-on-one with them. There was a lot of CBWA my first couple weeks, asking them what they like, sharing my interest with them. So I'm a big Super Mario fan, and, I have a tattoo on my arm, a sleeve, and they were like, can I see it? And I'm like, yeah, and I lift my arm up a little bit and let them see my tattoo. And, my office is decorated with Super Mario. So they got to see that side of me, and then they got to see that I always keep the door open. So my office is painted blue, green, pink, yellow, all the colors of the vest, and then as well as my HR office behind me, and then the break room. And some of the associates wanted to help paint, so it was a group effort to do that. So it was just inviting them into my world as much as I wanted them to invite me into theirs. And then once they realized that they didn't have to have a guard up, that it wasn't well, if you don't do this, you're going to get in trouble. It was, okay, let's find the solution. If we're not understanding it this way, maybe if we try explaining it a different way, maybe then, the associate can understand what we're doing. So simplifying the process, simplifying the communication makes for a great team, because at the end of the day, there's no questions. That's
right. That's awesome. I want to jump back into that in just a bit. But before we do that, life outside of work, how long have you been with Walmart in total?
June will be 12 years.
12 years. Okay. Did you do anything prior to Walmart?
Walmart's been like half of my career. So I worked at Walgreens. I worked, at a couple of our competitors. But I started with Walmart when I was 24, and I was fresh out of a relationship. And I said, okay, well, I have a couple options here. Walmart was right up the road from my house, and I walked to my interview. And I went in and was like, hi, I'd like to work for your company. And I had a great assistant manager, great ZMS back when that program was still in there. And it's pretty much where I started. But I was a military brat. My mom was a senior chief in the Navy, so we traveled a lot. And fortunately, I was taken care of and was able to get money by babysitting my little brother, which I know back then, not a lot of kids got that. They were just like, this is your brother, you're going to watch him.
Sure.
My mom was really cool with that, and, gave me some allowance and stuff like that. But we got to live in Italy. We got to live in Virginia. And it was just a really fun experience growing up and being able to see different areas. And I think that's why I really connected with Walmart, because it is a family atmosphere, and move around your entire life, and you're stuck in that one store, and you have this whole, it's like being on a military base, because you have all different people that are collectively together. And I still have people from my first store that I talk to. We're Facebook friends, or we text each other, and it's just those lifelong friends that you've made.
Can your friends believe that you're running a Walmart store?
Two of my very best friends when I got promoted were, I think, more excited than I were.
That's awesome.
They're both coaches now, but they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And I was like, me either. Like, this is great.
That's awesome. That's great. When you think through the experience, either, growing up or even your experience at Walmart, we all have people that have made differences in our lives. I got a whole list of folks. But for you personally, does anybody come to mind of somebody that's made a difference in your life?
I have a couple people. I have my previous store managers, Turner Thompson. He actually doesn't work for Walmart anymore. He works for Kroger, but we're not going to judge him for that. We still love him. But he really pushed me to kind of get out of my shell, because when I promoted to North Carolina, I had to come in as a part-time cashier. And I was always doing returns, always cleaning the registers, taking the plastic hangers to the back, anything and everything I could do to find, busy work. That's what I wanted to do. And he pulled me off to the side, and he's like, you need to promote. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And he's like, no, you need to promote. I want to promote you. And, he put me over in electronics. I got to learn that. Got to be an overnight support manager with him, got to open up the fresh areas in a Division I store, and then was able to be a part of the ZMS program when that was still around, and then become an assistant. And, I think he was there so early on that he put that trust in me, where I'm like, are you sure I can do this? And he's like, yes, here are your keys to the store. You're going to run my overnight shift. And I'm like, and myself. And he's like, you've got this, you can do this. But he was also, hard on us in a sense of, having that high expectation and holding true to that expectation. And, now when I have that high expectation, I look at something sometimes and I'm like, would Turner like that? No, Turner wouldn't like that. That's not how we build things. We need to go back and look at that again. And then when I moved to Florida, I had a hilarious store manager named Daryl Riley, who was just the first conversation I ever had with him when I wanted to come down here. I said, how are you doing? He's like, I am fabulous. And that was his favorite word to use. How are you doing? I'm fabulous. I'm just great. And even if it was a frustrating day or, hard, he would still try to find ways to joke with us to kind of loosen us up. And then from that store, I also met Mark Montoya, who is my peer now, but he was my co-manager. And he was the same way. It was like, if you got those two together, forget about it. It was jokes all day long. Even if you're frustrated, you're like, okay, I'm going to walk out of this office. But, they were just super fun to be around. And a lot of the harder questions that we had, they were able to answer. And then I had Nathan, who promoted me to co-manager, called me one day and said, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, eating a bowl of cereal. He's like, you ready for your co-manager interview? I was like, what? And, when I got that call from him, it was just awesome. Just the trust that they've instilled and the things that they can see you doing before you can do it. They're awesome.
That's great. The, what in those situations, because somebody saw something in you and wanted you to do more, whether it's become a assistant or or store lead, now store manager, what were some of the doubts and the thoughts in your mind? It sounded like, we talked about you may not felt like you were ready for it. What's that internal process in your mind that may have gotten in the way?
I didn't really, I don't want to say I have a lot of faith in myself because I'm a very confident person,
Sure.
Coming to work positive, everything like that. But, I didn't get my high school diploma in a conventional way. I didn't get to graduate from a high school or walk and, get that. I ended up dropping out when I was younger and then getting my GED. So for the longest time, I felt that was going to hold me back. And anytime I wanted to promote, I'm like, they're going to see that and think I can't do it. That's not normal. That's not the normal way that things are done. And, they were like, no, like you've got this, this, don't, that's not going to stop you, AJ. And then the more that they helped push me, the more comfortable I got with it. And then when I was the store lead, my store manager, Nathan, was like, all right, here's the key to the Ferrari. You do your thing, you run the business. I'm here just in case in the back seat, being your backseat driver and, kind of helping you coast along the way. And it really was a blessing because it taught me a lot. It taught me how to be one-on-one with more associates, how to be able to look at the GM side and run that business while also looking at the grocery side. And then when I came here, I'm like, this is my new Ferrari. This is my small, but we love her. She's amazing. And, now I get to help take care of people and take care of a store. So.
Yeah, it's interesting how these false narratives we play to ourselves, like the high school diploma thing. Nobody probably cared, right? When they were going through the interview, but in your mind, they're going to care. And we all have those. I have them. We all have them. Like, oh my gosh, what are they going to say about this? And it's these false narratives that we play in our mind that aren't really based on reality, but can hold us back from reaching our full potential for sure, but then hold us back from even taking a hold of opportunities that come our way. And what I found is we all have them. Right? I don't care who you are. There's something along the way that's this false thought that you may think, and it subconsciously sometimes holds you back. So walk me through that. Walk me through the process of getting your GED. What caused that? How did you go about it? And have you thought about Live Better You or anything else to keep going?
I actually have. I was like, when I promote and then I want to start doing that. So my boyfriend actually works for Walmart too. And he's super supportive. Again, he's like my little cheerleader in the background, like, you got this, you can do this, and we both actually want to join that and get that completed for ourselves. So it's kind of like,
for you.
We're both there for each other when it comes to that. So that's awesome. But getting my GED, I dropped out when I was about 16. And, I was the one that was doodling during science class, and my notes were super elaborate and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I told my mom, I said, I don't feel like I'm learning anything. And like, well, you're very smart. I said, I know, but it's just not for me. And ended up waiting 2 years, and then finally was like, all right, I have to do something. Got my GED, got that set up. Bought the big old thick book to study for your GED. I probably read 4 pages of it, highlighted a couple of things, and then that book kind of went on the bookshelf. And I'm like, So when I went to go take my test, I was like, all right, #send it. We're going to see if I get this. Took the test and passed, and it was awesome. And, like you said, we all have those false things in our head where we feel like it's going to hold us back. But, looking back at my career, no one ever brought it up. No one ever said anything about it. It was never even mentioned. And, I think about the associates and what they have outside of work. And I think about, do they have something like that going on to where they think that maybe they couldn't promote because of not having a high school diploma, or, not having a degree in something. And then being there for them and pushing them like the leaders that I had before were pushing me. And it just kind of feels like it came full circle for me.
Yeah, it's the last podcast we did was with a market manager in Louisiana, and it was very much around inclusion and celebrating differences. And my point of view is greatness comes from differences. greatness doesn't come from everything the same. If everything was the same, we never have inventions, we never have innovation, we never have people doing extraordinary things. And sometimes we forget that because as humans, we want everything to look the same. Yeah. We want everything to be the same. It's just more comfortable for us. So it's uncomfortable with differences. And even unorthodox upbringings or education can sometimes feel like you're on the outside versus the inside.
Right.
But again, like I grew up, I have dyslexia and really struggled, especially in the early years of school. And but some of those differences that I have enables me to do some of the things I do today. And so it's interesting. Somebody like you with your background may not be a traditional background, but it probably gives you things and experiences like living in Italy and all these other things that nobody else has, and it allows you to do your job and do it well. And so, I think it's real important to understand we all have these differences, but what those differences are is what makes us unique and gives us the opportunity and a platform to do our jobs or interact with our families in ways that nobody else can. When you think through your story and how that worked and somewhat of unorthodox background, from an education perspective, but then also being in the military, your mom probably give you a different perspective. How do you celebrate differences with your team? How do you create the environment that celebrates differences, not just in yourself, but people on your team where they feel like they're included?
It's definitely, bringing the break room together. When we painted it, the associates walked in and they just said, wow, this is awesome. The vibe is so different. And, I have a great associate, Adam, who is he is amazing. He is his own person. He wears a feather jacket sometimes. He is just amazing being. And, he's like, I love it. I just, I come into work, like I want to work now. It's celebrating those little things. Like you got up and you came to work today. And for some people during the pandemic and everything like that, that might be the hardest things that they do for the day. And, we all have personal lives outside of Walmart. We don't know if, they got in a fight with their significant other right before they got here. We don't know if they had a disagreement with a family member. So just celebrating them walking through the door is exciting. And, me being able to CBWA throughout the day and just talk to them and have those little one-on-one conversations and, help them set up a feature and just talk to them. Hey, how you doing today? What you got going on? And, posting them on my local social, and my workplace is filled with, my associates and these great things that they do, and just thanking them along the way, showing them that you can lead with heart and you can be different. And that's not a bad thing. Okay. I don't necessarily look at myself and think that I'm the conventional store manager that I've ever worked for or that I've ever seen. And, I think that when I first walked in, I had the long sleeves. I didn't let them see, my tattoos or anything. And, hair was done up, everything like that. And then, when I really got to let my hair down with them, that's when they got to be super comfortable. And then just letting them know, I'm excited you're here. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't matter what time it is. I get just as excited when I see my people at 7 a.m. that I do at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m.
Yeah, it's that authentic leadership that I think people crave. And it takes a level of vulnerability that we have to, as leaders, have to be willing to accept. But people want authentic relationships for sure. One of your strongest relationships from an experience perspective inside of work is with your leader.
Yes.
It's so important. One of the things you mentioned is you were out of your store for a few weeks, came back, and the store was still running really well.
Yes.
So that tells me that you have really worked on empowerment and getting your team leads to run their business. Walk me through what that looks like for you. How many team leads do you have in your store?
I have 4 team leads in my store, and then I also have academy trainers in my store.
Yep. So for your team leads specifically, how do you drive empowerment? Do they feel like they can make decisions when you're not in the building, and that they can run their business like a small store manager?
When I first got here, it was a little difficult because it was a lot of hands-on with them at first. It was explaining, the role clarity. Here's what, you need to do as far as to get yourself on process. But then here's, some other things that I can teach you along the way. One of the best things that I ever said to my associates was everything is fixable. So even if we make a bad buy or we merchandise the wrong thing on the end cap, it's not the end of the world, and letting them know that it's okay. And, telling them, well, what's your idea? If you could pick anything to go on this end cap, what would you put on this end cap? What are you thinking for the cart rail? If you're a customer coming in, what are you going to want to grab and go? And they have some of the best ideas. I always joke with my ops manager that we had some of the best untapped talent in this building. And, we just recently promoted an academy trainer to a team lead at another store. I have, my team leads are operating at ops manager level because that's the expectation that we have. And, over communicating everything is what really helped them get a grasp on what the expectation was, but also what they could do themselves. The conversations don't have to be, hey, this is what I need from you. The conversations in the last 4.5 months have turned into, hey, AJ, this is what I've got going on today. This is what I'm going to do. Okay, great. Send me pictures. I'm excited. Like, send me stuff that we can put on my local social. Who are we celebrating today? And, they genuinely care about their associates. And it was like coming into an already made family and just kind of blending it all together and just getting them on that right path and having that first conversation of, where do you see yourself in 3 years? What do you want to do in Walmart? Do you want to promote to ops manager? Then my goal while I'm at this store is to get you promoted to ops manager. I will teach and train and develop you on anything and everything that I can to get you to that point. And every single one of my team leads was like, I want to be an ops manager. And every single one of my ATs was like, I want to be a team lead. Great. You're going to operate as an academy trainer at a team lead level. Team leads, we're going to operate as an ops manager level. Ops manager, I need you to be a mini store manager. And then we're just going to rock and roll at a 5820. And it took off. I mean, I don't want to say even I was surprised, but I was so excited as a new store manager to just see them kind of go off. And, if I'm with other leaders and we're out to lunch, I'm like, oh, let me tell you what they did today. Or look at this picture. It's like they're my kids. And I don't have any kids of my own, but I'm showcasing all these things that they're doing and showing them their workplace and stuff like that. And they're just amazing little beings. And they just buzz around here. Like, if I were to not be here, like, what happened with those 2 weeks, they could fully do anything and they would be super capable. And just, our store is a yellow color. It's like the older, and they ended up painting the walls white on the front end. And I'm doing my first tour as I'm back and we're touring around. And I was like, everybody stop. I love this wall up here. And they were like, do you like it? Do you like it? And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, you guys did this? And they're like, yeah, we wanted to show you that, what the store could look like if the walls were white. Look at our service desk. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, the picture frames aren't, got a little lean to them. I said, this is great. They're all straight. They're beautiful. I'm like, look at you guys. And it was so exciting to watch their faces light up, to see my reaction. And just like, they're like, yes, this is what we wanted. This is what we can do. This is what we did. And it's just, they're just amazing. I could just talk about them all day long.
It's amazing what our associates will do when we give them a chance, right?
Absolutely.
AJ, I really appreciate your time. You're clearly making a difference in your store, and you're clearly making a difference in your community and with your associates. So I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing to support them. And please reach out if you need anything from us.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate y'all's time.
All right, that's another episode of The Difference. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to AJ. What a great story she has, and really appreciate her time. And we will have somebody new on the podcast next week. So we'll see you then.